Good morning, Sunday, August 4th, 2024, here in Sarasota, where presently a tropical storm is moving through. We're on the outer bands of it, and we're just beginning to get into what will be the thick of it. And so I'm going to be skipping the gym this morning, and so my flow is a little thrown off, but I don't want to miss my recording, get so much out of the little routine that I've built that I miss my recording. So I want to go ahead and jump in earlier rather than later today. Also, it makes me realize because I get a little nutty when I set a goal for something, and it's a reminder of how I spent most of this life. I'm starting to catch up now that it's been 11, almost, 12 years since I've been a lot more conscious in my living and my choices, and a lot more self-aware at a deeper level, like really understanding what's motivating or inspiring me with each action. But I get a little nutty. I focus on a goal, and then I sort of lose sight of what the longer term objective is for that goal. Not saying that short term goals are bad per se, but for me, it ended up being, as I alluded to in my motivation versus inspiration video, it ended up being I ended up just being a blind achiever for a lot of years, mostly through high school, through college, through all my 20s, chasing achievements and not really understanding what was really driving me and what was really motivating me. And so I have to be careful when I have these goals and when I do these things, because it's all well and good to complete something. And because I'm so self motivated and can be so disciplined, there isn't much that I can't do when I put my mind to it. But then if I revert back to in this case, to something that's I'm not looking to do yoga, for example, just for 30 days and then to revert back to doing no stretching, which is pretty much what I was doing. The whole goal is to give myself this huge sort of chunk to build some, one, to see and feel the results, but to build some momentum to something that then becomes a habitual part of my life, but not necessarily as OCD and obsessive as needing to do it every single day. So it's kind of a good opportunity today for me to call bullshit on myself, because I was really close to trying to get out there before the weather got bad. And listen, I drive my little non-AC, little freaking old 2009 Hyundai Accent. I don't need to be going out, even though the gym's only a mile away. I don't need to be going out in this. I need to take the opportunity to, one, do some freaking stretching and do some minimal stuff at home. And two, let's not be so OCD. Let's keep the bigger picture in mind, which is a really tough thing I have found with high achieving people. And there are two things I want to talk about in today's video. And it's funny because I'm going to come back to another aspect of myself related to the high achieving, but then isolating that specifically to how I was as a high achieving athlete. So I'm going to come back to that as the second part of this video. But the first part, I kind of want to conclude a little bit of the dream video from yesterday, since that was abruptly ended. And that was because of the unexpected arrival at my door of somebody. And Spirit always has a way, universe, God always has a way of sending these weird little, I call them winks from the universe, kind of like, yep, ultimately there's something much bigger than me in control of things. And when things like that happen, like an unplanned interruption, which has happened many times over the years of this, 500 plus videos that I've done, many times they've been interrupted with a phone call or with somebody showing up at the door. And it always, more often than not, it always seems like it's like a perfect interruption, if that makes sense. And yesterday's was pretty crazy in terms of, like, it was just sort of not accidental. Not that anybody else would notice that, but I noticed that. In any case, I abruptly ended the video. So I want to talk just a little bit more about that dream that I had at the end of April in 2022, that was really about and containing all these other people in my life presenting to me what they had created for their dream life. The part that when I rewatched that last night, I realized there was one part that wasn't quite clear I want to try to attempt, not that it will end up clearer, but I want to try to attempt to make it a little bit clearer. The I would say, arguably, the most important aspect of this dream and how I interpreted it. It wasn't, and again, I'm not trying to offend or insult or judge anybody that is living a more mainstream life, going to college, having that regular job, setting up, buying a home, and having a family. I'm not intending to have anything. I'm not intending to negatively look upon that. What I am more about, though, what my life is, who I'm more speaking to, right, are the folks for whom, for one reason or another, that path is not intended, has not yet happened. They're late in life. They're waking up to themselves later than the 20 somethings where that allows them to meet a great mate and have a family and do all the things in the timely fashion and on that timeline that set path tends to lean towards. I'm speaking more. Now, I'm speaking to that group in the sense of trying to say that there are people probably within your lives that you don't even know who are living very different lives. And to kind of encourage us to understand, even if you're crossing paths with people within certain circumstances, to just not make assumptions, right? Like, let's not make assumptions. Like, really take the time to get to know people in your life as opposed to making assumptions based on really anything. So, okay, sorry. The people I'm most speaking to are the ones that are being drawn for one reason or another to not follow the mainstream path. And what I'm attempting to be, first and foremost, through living my own life, is to show, listen, it's not easy, especially right now, because we still got to dance. You still got to take care of yourself in this dimension. And that's not cheap or easy, but it is doable. But what would your life look like? You can. It is an option. It's an option that I'm working and dedicated to try to make easier for everybody. But it's because it's definitely not been an easy option for me. But there is an option to, like, literally create your own work as your own boss. And for some people, maybe it's a little bit clearer. Maybe they're musicians naturally. So their little operation will be trying to go out and be a musician. Maybe they're painters. Maybe they've got a more of an overt sort of skill set and gift to take out into the world. But there are a lot of people out there like me who might have, like, I can throw some colors on a thing and maybe I've sold some paintings on my Etsy page, but that's not my primary thing that I'm here to be and do and to contribute. I love doing this and I would love being able to get a little bit more of my art out in the world, but that's not my primary thing I'm here to do. And actually, I would argue that a lot of us have a lot of different skill sets. And those skill sets all have value somewhere out in the world. But in that mainstream world, that's still a more highly specialized, choose a career. Even though we're now conditioned to have many different employers within a career, and even though in colleges now, even starting when I was still a teacher in the educational system, they were prepping kids to sort of understand that concept of career was shifting from what it had been in the previous generations. But it's still a very specialized nature, that mainstream path, like choose one thing and stay on it. I'm really kind of about, why do you have to choose one thing? Like, I'm not one thing. Don't tell me to narrow my entire 48 and a half years onto one piece of paper and a resume and think I'm going to communicate to you who I am. Not even freaking close. So I'm speaking to the ones who, and trying to be an example that we can get really out of the box and really learn how to create pockets where it's an option to take your entire being and all your skill sets and all your experiences and all your knowledge and all your interests. And like I said, all work is going out into the world and meeting needs and wants of your fellow human beings. But we don't have a structure within which to do that. That's the structure that I believe I'm being called to bring into and to create into physical reality. So the dream I had was that. I have a lot of people in my life, not my super close network, but I've got a lot of people, Facebook friends, people I work with in the event industry who are living beautiful, amazing lives, but they're more of the traditional lives. They've gone to college, they've gone to grad school, they've had the traditional weddings, they live in homes, they have the families, they're doing it the more traditional way, which is great and beautiful. But the ones I'm speaking to are the ones that aren't living that path. Because if you're not living that path, it can be a little bit, it can be challenging. And the older you get, the further away you get from that story, it can be hard. Okay. So in this dream, the best part was the people presenting to me were presenting totally unique lives. Like it was what they themselves, as their own president of their own company, of themselves, were creating. That's what the dream was. And I ended by saying, I really do think the dream is coming true because I don't believe dreams are just dreams. I actually believe that I was tapping into what I've always believed, which is I'm telling you, I've seen the version of reality that exists in this frequency of love, cooperation, and abundance. I've seen it. I've been there because I've been there on a dimensional level, on like an astral level, on a consciousness level, because everything that's ever existed, everything that exists now, and everything that will exist all exists in the now moment. There is only the now moment. If you're familiar with one of the bigger spiritual author names out there, Eckhart Tolle, he wrote a book called The Power of Now, the now moment. It's all in the now moment, but it's at different frequency bands, different dimensional bands. I've seen the band. I'm telling you, I don't care how nutty that sounds. And that dream was not a dream. That was me stepping into. If you look at it in the false idea of time down in the linear way, imagine it being down the linear timeline into the future, whatever that is. So I wanted to just kind of clarify that again for the 2 or 3 people that may watch this. The second thing I want to just briefly open the door to, and I'll continue with this tomorrow's video because I don't want to have these go too long. I watched a movie called American Fiction last night.